Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump just dropped an absolute bombshell on FEMA's empire of corruption. You see, yesterday afternoon, President Trump fired FEMA Administrator Cameron Hamilton for failing to either reform or scrap this anti American mess, proving that President Trump is done messing around with federal waste and corruption. Here's the truth. FEMA is an absolute disaster. It's a $30 billion black hole that only sucks up taxpayer money. It wastes our cash on bloated bureaucracy. Meanwhile, American families are suffering. President Trump has had enough of this globalist scam screwing over the American people. As many of you know, for decades now, FEMA has been a poster child for federal overreach, stomping on states' rights. It rips away local control, leaving communities helpless. States know their needs best, but FEMA's red tape chokes them out. And so President Trump gave FEMA Administrator Cameron Hamilton one very simple job: either reform FEMA or dismantle it altogether. Now, neither of those things happened, so President Trump kicked him out, ultimately having him escorted out of the building. FEMA's inefficiencies are an absolute shame. Bureaucratic bloat delays aid, leaving Americans stranded during natural disasters. Taxpayer dollars vanish into useless federal government programs instead of helping people rebuild their lives after floods or hurricanes. Even worse, FEMA has a nasty history of playing partisan politics. It's historically punished red states, starving conservative areas of aid while funneling our taxpayer money into blue states. And so this isn't disaster relief, no, it's a progressive power grab targeted at Trump supporters. During Hurricane Milton, FEMA workers skipped Trump supporters' homes, risking lives with their blatant political bias. And by the way, this wasn't an accident. FEMA's bureaucracy deliberately targeted conservatives, proving it's a corrupt, anti-American machine. Here's the truth. For decades now, FEMA has taken our taxpayer money meant for state aid and has blown it on wasteful nonsense. Billions of dollars get diverted to non-essential junk like migrant aid or progressive pet projects, betraying every single American taxpayer. As some of you might remember, just a couple months ago, former FEMA Chief Financial Officer Mary Comins got fired for funneling FEMA cash to luxury hotels for illegal aliens living in New York City. That's right, our disaster funds went to illegal aliens while Americans were suffering. FEMA has ultimately squandered billions of dollars on illegal aliens and various woke initiatives, ignoring citizens that are suffering from natural disasters. Our disaster relief should save Americans, not push anti-American, radically progressive agenda of the globalist elites. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot more to talk about today, but I do want to say real quick, if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle here on YouTube. And now check this out. Right this very moment, over $100 billion in FEMA grants are frozen. And do you want to know why? It's because they clash with President Trump's executive orders banning funding for sanctuary cities and illegal alien housing. FEMA's corruption is so deep that it can't even spend its money legally. And so in truth, this just proves that FEMA has gone absolutely rogue. At this point, it's not even about disaster response anymore. It's a cash cow for various radically progressive globalist schemes, leaving Americans vulnerable when a crisis actually does happen. Here's the reality. FEMA's numerous screw-ups are a direct threat to public safety. Inefficient operations mean delayed aid, putting lives at risk. When hurricanes hit, Americans need help fast, not a bloated agency fumbling the ball. And so I'll tell you the truth, the states can handle disasters much better than FEMA's centralized mess. They've got the local know-how needed to act quickly in an emergency. FEMA's red tape only slows them down, wasting both time and money when people are suffering. And so with all of that being said, President Trump's plan for FEMA is absolutely brilliant. What he's trying to do is relocate FEMA's billions of dollars into various federal block grants redirected towards the states. Let locals cut through the nonsense and deliver aid directly without a bunch of Washington, D.C. bureaucrats getting involved. Here's the reality. President Trump's mandate to overhaul or shut down FEMA is really our mandate. We gave him a 2024 landslide to slash, waste, and make the government accountable. Taxpayer money needs to be spent right or not be spent at all. And at this point, loyalty to President Trump's America First agenda is an absolute must. The American people voted to put our nation first. That's why we voted for President Trump. And so if federal workers won't comply with that mandate, then they've got no business living off of our tax money. And as many of you know, right now, the Department of Government Efficiency is exposing waste, fraud, and corruption across the entire federal government. And of course, FEMA is no exception. It seems like for every corrupt dollar we find, 10 more are still hiding. The reality is that FEMA is nothing but a swamp of progressive rot. In truth, FEMA is so broken that it might just be unfixable. If we can't audit, overhaul, and rebuild FEMA from scratch, it needs to be shut down. Let the states take those billions of dollars and handle emergencies without all of the corrupt, radically progressive baggage. As you all know, former President Joe Biden and the Democrats pretty much turned FEMA into a progressive slush fund, starving red states of aid while coddling illegal aliens. Their anti-American schemes put our people last. They put Americans last. But so now President Trump is flipping the script. We are done with FEMA's corruption stealing our resources. We voted for President Trump to fix this disaster. Every dollar saved from FEMA's waste means more for our families, our safety, and our American prosperity. If President Trump actually goes through with shutting down FEMA altogether, instead giving all of that money back to the states, you can bet that our nation's disaster recovery will be better than ever, and that our taxpayer disaster relief money will stop being used to subsidize the existence of illegal aliens. Like we've said, for years now, the radical progressives have been using FEMA to take care of a bunch of illegal immigrants that shouldn't even be here in the first place. And so now President Trump is shutting that down. And so, hey, I don't know about all of you, but in my opinion, this is what it looks like to finally put America first. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up, I do want to say real quick that we officially have a Morse News Twitter page as well as a Morse News Facebook page. So if you use either of those platforms, please go down below and drop a follow in order to get breaking news updates that relate to everything we talk about here in the YouTube videos. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there, and like I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.